everyone, welcome to Interviews with Plants. My name's Julia, and today we're interviewing the western red cedar, also known as Thuja plicata. The indigenous people also call this tree the tree of life because it has so many gifts to share. Western red cedar are a large tree. They grow up to 60 meters in height. They can get huge diameter around the base of the tree as well. They're famous for being old growth forest trees. Western red cedar is common on moist to well-drained sites. They prefer a little bit moisture and richer sites rather than a dry site, but you can find them on a wide range of sites from lower to mid elevation. Western red cedar have a typical growth habit where they have what's called a fluted base or a fluted buttress, also sometimes called a fluted butt. So at the base of the tree, we have these large ridges that come down into the ground, and they kind of have a weaving in and out pattern. This is very distinctive and you can recognize it far away from a distance. The western red cedar is also well known for its stringy, reddish, thin bark. You can recognize this from a distance as the color and pattern is very distinctive and different from our other native conifer trees. If we look at the overall growth shape of a western red cedar, you'll notice that the branches have what we call a J shape. They come out, go downwards, and curve back upwards. Again, this is something you could notice from a distance to help you recognize the western red cedar tree. Western red cedar has a special type of foliage, which is called scale foliage. So instead of needles like you see on most other conifers, you get these flattened leaves known as scale-like foliage that you'll see on the western red cedar. Western red cedar is sometimes confused for yellow cedar. Yellow cedar grows at higher elevations, and the foliage is more droopy than the flat foliage of the western red cedar. Western red cedar is also smoother if you pet it backwards compared to yellow cedar. If you try to pet the foliage backwards on a yellow cedar, it'll feel very sharp. Whereas this, I can pet it backwards and it doesn't really hurt. The cones of the western red cedar are very distinctive. To me, they look like little brown tulips. They're quite small and they grow in clusters, and when they're open, like these ones, they look like a little flower. The cones of the western red cedar are very different from the cones of the yellow cedar. The cones of the red cedar are these small brown tulip-shaped cones, whereas the yellow cedar, they're hard, round, globe-shaped circles. One interesting way to tell yellow cedar and red cedar apart is actually by fragrance. So you can actually do a lot of plant identification just by smelling plants. So the way you would do this is you take some of the foliage, rub it between your fingers, crush it a little bit, and get a nice big sniff in. So the red cedar has a really nice aromatic fragrance, quite pleasant, whereas the yellow cedar has a much more stronger medicinal smell. Some people say it smells kind of like cat pee, which I feel like is a bit mean, but the red cedar definitely has a nice, strong, beautiful aromatic smell. And if you've ever been sitting in a sauna with red cedar planking, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, that beautiful smell of the red cedar. So I hope you enjoyed learning more about our good friend, the western red cedar, Thuja plicata, also known as the tree of life. So let's thank the western red cedar for its time, and I hope you like and subscribe and tune in to more interviews with plants.